Planet of Lana has been on my radar for a while. The 2D puzzle platforming exploration genre is one of my favorite styles of games out there, with several of its most noteworthy titles being among my all-time favorites. And because of that, it's also a style of game that I really seek out, waiting for the next great adventure that nails the combination of puzzle-focused gameplay, visually distinct environments, and exploratory pacing that leads to the unveiling of a fascinating world and narrative. So when Planet of Lana was announced, it shot up pretty quickly to the top of my must-play list. And after experiencing this new adventure for myself, it ends up in a place that both accomplishes what it sets out to do, but also falls just short of the high expectations I have for this type of game. Make no mistake, Planet of Lana is a direct adaptation of the games that influence it, and in most ways this ends up being a good thing. Anyone familiar with the linear, puzzle-driven level design of LIMBO will feel right at home here. The framing of specific shots, zooming and panning at the exact right time to showcase the excellent art design will bring back memories of the fantastic staging found in Gris. The slow reveal of the more-than-meets-the-eye world calls back to the same process used in Inside and Somerville. And the companion system and relationship built through that system utilizes the same methods we saw in titles like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. The day-to-day gameplay in Planet of Lana consists of a fairly simple collection of position-based puzzles. These start out with situations in which you'll focus solely on maneuvering Lana and facilitating minor interactions with the environment. But they soon turn into more complex variations that involve other characters and objects, enemy evasion, and occasionally larger and more multiple set-piece puzzles focused on accomplishing a single goal. Planet of Lana's twist on this gameplay is its companion system, which finds you not only taking control of Lana, but also giving directions and commands to Mui, the game's darling pet companion who eventually joins you on your journey. On the surface, the addition of this system should lead to more compelling puzzles, adding a deeper level of complexity as you determine how each character needs to interact with their surroundings. Sometimes this is the case, but the more frequent scenario is one that sees you using Mui to complete simple tasks like dropping a rope down to Lana or eliminating a static alien creature used as an arbitrary barrier. Ultimately, these tasks result in little more than simple button presses that oftentimes don't feel like the most interesting use of the character. There are times, however, when Planet of Lana really shines in this department, and this is usually when the game asks you to control not just Lana and Mui, but also multiple other objects or characters as well, all within the same setup. Unfortunately, these situations are so infrequent that I'm not even going to detail any of them specifically, because it would feel like spoiling the rarest but best moments in the game. To be fair, this is a pretty common criticism of this style of game, with many of them laying foundations for really interesting things, but not building on those foundations enough, both in frequency and complexity. Now, while the puzzles and light platforming are what you'll find yourself doing most often in Planet of Lana, I would argue they're not really the most important aspect of the game, and maybe not even why most people would choose to play it. Instead, that reason would be the enjoyment of traveling through its captivating and beautiful world as you embark on a classic adventure to save your people. This is a type of game that quite often drops you into an environment without fully revealing what's going on around you. And Planet of Lana follows a similar path here, though it actually provides more of an intro and setup than most other games in this genre. Your initial experience through this world is one of wonder and excitement as you leave your cozy seaside village to take on the rest of what this planet has to offer. And despite the clearly threatening nature of the introduction sequence, the art style and environmental choices make this world feel like one you want to explore, and not just one you're forced to make your way through because that's what the game wants you to do. It's a feeling that both overlaps with its influences, but also extracts an emotion that's distinct to this game. LIMBO, Inside, and Somerville all feel like the unraveling of a mystery. Gris feels like an abstract, metaphysical journey. Little Nightmares feels like a ghastly escape sequence. Planet of Lana, meanwhile, feels like a true adventure, no doubt tapping into those big Studio Ghibli vibes that the developers have cited as a guiding star for the game. The gorgeous, flat 3D art style often imitates a moving painting and is without a doubt one of the highlights of Lana's experience. Environments look fantastic, with several layers delicately crafted on top of one another, making your world feel larger than it actually is in-game. It's a technique we've seen plenty of before, but Planet of Lana really refines it and leans heavily into it, leveraging the game's lush, natural environments to create some outstanding looking locations. Rock formations protrude from the foreground and effortlessly flow into cliffs and ravines behind you. Multiple layers of trees sway in the wind at different intervals, and when your view opens up, you're treated to expansive backdrops that showcase an untouched, natural world of rolling hills and blue skies. Just as with the game's puzzles though, I found myself wishing that the design of the game allowed the artists to go deeper here. There were moments when I'd slide down into a new area, certain that the game was about to expand upon the environment it had just built, only to find Lana running through another grassy field just like the one before it. And while there are a few different types of locations you'll come across, it seems that most of the time was spent perfecting Lana's trademark green-blue rolling forest template that you likely already associate with the game. While you're making your way through Lana's world, you're also going to be interrupted quite frequently with micro cutscenes that trigger when you enter a new area or when the game wants to highlight something in the environment. The weird part here is that these are technically in-game cutscenes that use the same perspective as normal, but they fade in and out, as if to signify that you're now watching instead of playing. For a game that relies so much on being a cinematic, seamless experience, the use of these scenes and the way they're presented felt really jarring, and most times unnecessary. One piece of the game's presentation you won't find me criticizing, however, is the sound department, most specifically the excellent, adventurous score composed by Takeshi Furukawa. Sitting on Planet of Lana's captivating title screen, it takes about 6 notes to immediately set you up for what this game is trying to do from an emotional perspective with its music. What we end up getting is a score that is incredibly cinematic, yet still utilizes themes and motifs that many modern games with orchestral scores have abandoned. Planet of Lana is a perfect example of how much the choice of music can affect the mood of any given scene. Each song helps push you along its corresponding area of the game, and one after another they consistently contribute to the film-like pacing found in this game's story. One piece in particular feels like it's straight out of a Star Wars movie, with its cascading woodwinds expertly triggering feelings of intrigue and perfectly fitting into the game's official tagline, an off-Earth odyssey. It was hardly surprising to later find out that Furukawa also did work on the official soundtrack for The Clone Wars. Really great choice by the developers to snag him for this project. If you were to grade Planet of Lana on its individual pieces, you'd end up with some clear standouts, with others lagging slightly behind. The visuals and sound take the lead here, while aspects like puzzle and level design, world building, and narrative impact all deliver solid performances, if sometimes leaving more to be desired. One of the tough parts about critiquing this game is really comparing it to the high standards set by the games that have come before it, because while it borrows heavily from a genre full of bold ideas, it never felt quite as significant as it had the potential to be. The game takes a very inside-like trajectory with its world, but never realizes something quite as intriguing. Its art style can at times be stunning, but never fully reaches the consistent levels of spectacle employed by Gris. Its puzzles at times are inventive, but never tap into the dense puzzle pacing of LIMBO, and it tells an emotional story hinging on love and companionship, but never hits as hard as what we saw in Somerville. Perhaps most importantly, but also most nebulously, the biggest factor that separates those other titles from Planet of Lana is the emotional impact their respective journeys had on me. I fully recognize that this is a very subjective piece of any one person's experience playing a game, and it's likely that many other players will be awestruck by Planet of Lana in the same way I was by some of those other games. In fact, the presentation of Lana is certainly strong enough to guarantee that will be the case. So when speaking in a strictly selfish manner, this game does sometimes feel like one held back by my own personal standards. In the end though, I'm happy Planet of Lana exists. It's a worthy addition to what I consider to be a very indispensable genre of games, and I wish we had more like it. If you're even remotely intrigued by its style or its world, you won't be disappointed. You just might not exactly be blown away. Ironically, Planet of Lana is in many ways a victim of other games that exist within its scope, many of which have carved out their own place and delivered exceptional pieces of abstract storytelling and world building. And it's because of these games that Planet of Lana both thrives and eventually falls just a little short. Ultimately, this is a title that doesn't reach the heights of its influences, but it makes good use of them. So check it out, enjoy your time with it, and let me know what you think.
you.